Well, a happy Friday morning. It is great to be here, Kansas City. Thanks for joining us on KCMO Talk Radio, wrapping up the week with you and wrapping up the week with this story that has been talked about on and off for a very long time. How do you fix the Plaza? How do you fix the lack of foot traffic? How do you fix the fact that, high-end retailers are looking at different parts of the city, heck, different parts of the metro? Well, yesterday, Mayor Quinton Lucas rolled out these renderings, and it's in the very early stages. There was no vote on any of this yesterday. It's just gotten a lot of attention since, about 4:30 yesterday afternoon when this rendering came out. And this rendering came out courtesy of Urban Lab KC. And it's on my Twitter page, at Pete Mundo. It's on the Facebook page as well, Pete Mundo on KCMO. And the tweet from the mayor reads as follows: as we keep the conversation going on pedestrianizing some of the plaza, I appreciate Urban Lab for a rendering of the possibilities for a Nichols Road made for people. Studies show walking spaces lead to higher sales and reduce crime. Looking forward to more discussion. And the rendering's kind of neat. Once again, you can see it on social media if you'd like. It kind of shows Nichols Road. There's no cars. There's a little fountain there in the middle. There's some shops. I mean, it looks, there's trees. It looks great. It looks great.
On paper.
Yes. But this would be like the Royals, who have one of the worst records in Major League Baseball, trading for a, mediocre relief pitcher and being like, do you think we're ready for a World Series run? Everybody would look at him and be like, no, you're not. You've got bigger problems, right? You have inherent issues that are impacting the plaza, that are impacting every single corner of your town. And taking cars out of the plaza, it looks nice. Oh, look at the trees, the fountains, the people walking in the rendering. But until there's an effort to figure out how to get high-end retailers back in. I mean, there's plenty there, but get a lot back in. And also figure out how to make sure that people are going to feel safe and you don't have stores like Shake Shack having to shut down early because, unruly teens are causing trouble and the city's basically saying, well, good luck. Hire some private security if you want. When you've got those issues, I don't care if you make the, within a half a mile of the plaza without cars. It's not going to matter. It does not matter until you identify the core issues that you've got. It's like building a football team around Patrick Mahomes and then having a bunch of high schoolers as your offensive line. He can only do so much. I mean, he's incredible, but he can only do so much. And there were a lot of people yesterday when this is the greatest idea ever. Walkability around the plaza, no cars. Oh, this is the best idea the city's ever have. This is going to reboot the plaza, John, and life is going to be good once again down there.
They've been shooting for that as they wipe out parking spaces. I know they built some garages, but it was a different place and a different time when the whole place was founded. And this whole problem seems to be cyclical, going back to disco roller skating on the sidewalk in the 70s. We go through these issues from periodically. And so, I don't know what that's done for Westport, right? They shut out traffic through Westport, but I still think you're going to get people loitering in a pedestrian area. That doesn't shut that down. That maybe even encourages it.
That's a great point. Think about Westport, where it's now, you can't take cars through there. I don't know if that's... I assume
they've done that for a while, right?
But I'm thinking, too, is that only like Friday, Saturday nights, or is that all the time?
No, they don't do it on the weeknights, I don't think.
Okay, so it's just on the prime nights.
I just know, when traffic's going through there, it's kind of, you're hopping around and using the pedestrian lights, but then when you shut off the traffic, now that kind of just, you've got enclosed space for people to just gather and loiter.
And certainly it hasn't helped Westport at all. I mean, goodness gracious. Hate to say it, but between the crime and everything else over that way, story after story, it seems like, it hasn't done them any good. Now, obviously, it's a little bit of a different situation comparing Westport to Plaza, the kind of clientele you're expecting in either place. But either way, it hasn't done them any good, to your point there, John. So now the Plaza is going to sit here and think, what do we need? What's our problem? How do we get people back here? What do we do? Oh, you know what? We've got to shut down Nichols Road. We've got to make it pedestrian friendly, no cars. And it sounds nice. But think about this. If you're a high-end jewelry store, if you're a high-end clothing store, and you've got options up north, you've got options in Johnson County, you have a ton of money going out to eastern Jackson County now, you have a lot of places you can go. You have a lot of choices. You don't have to be in the air quotes destination of the Plaza anymore. And if the Plaza thinks the way to get those people back into the fold and get them back down to their location is to simply make it walkable, you're missing the bigger point as you trend towards a record year of homicides and increasing crime that's also happening on the Plaza.
It's a good point. The Plaza's origins in the 30s, through the 60s, it was Woolworths, it was Sears, right? It's the common man's shopping destination. Through the 80s, they tried to upscale it, right? But then that clientele tends to move south or north or east, as you're pointing out right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we'll put some stores out there. So you got Town Center.
Yeah.
Or
bingo.
Have, something like that. And so you don't have to make the drive in, if you will. And it's not even... it's your convenience as much as anything at that point.
Yeah.
Right. And so is it time then to return? And putting a Target down there, everybody's like freaked out about it. Oh, that's, that's not the Plaza.
Yeah.
But you know what? Maybe it should be. And what comes around goes around, et cetera, et cetera.
You need an anchor down there, right? And you don't really feel like you have one at this point in time.
Well, and there are people who live around the Plaza, right?
Yes.
And so they need a Target. Now they have to haul butt out to, south or north to get to, stuff they need. So
yes.
it needs to service the people who live around the area. It did at one time, and at one time it was high scale, big dollar, but that's passed.
And, take a place.
The houses are, expensive around there. I'm not trying to say that. But again, most of the shoppers have moved south, east, or north.
Yep, exactly right. So now you look at it and you say, okay, take a place like Target. A place like Target that is simply not going to maybe think about the Plaza. If you lower the rent to the point where it's attractive to them, well, then you start to get a little bit of a snowball effect. Then you start to get some traction. And then maybe you can upgrade the retail that you've got down there to what you thought the Plaza was supposed to be. But think about a place like Diamonds Direct that we endorse here on this show. They're down at 119th and Row, right around the town center area. And there's a lot of places like that. Go to Zona Rosa, go down south, whatever. It doesn't matter. But the notion that the Plaza has the ability to charge sky-high rents and be picky, no, beggars can't be choosers. And right now, the Plaza is a beggar. Never thought you'd say it, but they are. So for the mayor to roll out the rendering, it doesn't mean anything's happening right now. Doesn't mean anything's happening in the near future. But it's certainly something that city leaders want to consider and want to get some momentum behind. And they think this is going to be the thing that saves them. And I just don't see it. 913-408-7710 to join us on KCMO Talk Radio. Happy Friday. So up at the airport, 2022, there were 312 catalytic converter thefts reported by KCI police. In 2020, there was one. Now, that was pandemic year, of course. In 2021, there were 65 catalytic converter thefts reported by KCI police. Last year, that number ballooned to 312 catalytic converters reportedly stolen by people who had just parked their cars up at the airport. That's a huge problem. So now the numbers are down, and thank goodness they're down. And Woke 41 did this story last night. So the numbers right now of catalytic converters that have been stolen year to date up at the airport, January 1 through June 29. So the first 6 months of the year is 32. Now that's very good. That's on pace for the 2021 numbers of 65. Remember, last year, 312. This year, the first 6 months, 32. Okay, that's great. How did they do it? What did they do? Well, what did they do? The city increased security measures. Oh, my. You wait.
Talk about a bombshell.
Hold on. I'm reading this last night, and the irony is not lost on me here. The same people who are like, we don't need cops. We're down 300 in Kansas City. What's the big deal? Cops don't prevent crimes. Well, hold on a second here. Kansas City, to try to fix its stolen catalytic converter problem, they increased patrols. They deployed a private security firm already under contract for security at the airport. And they installed more security cameras and license plate readers. The airport also installed heavier-duty exit booth barricade arms and informed shuttle bus drivers and exit booth workers of what to look out for. So they put together this whole plan that included increased security patrols, that included more security cameras, heavier barricades, dare we call them walls. They did all these things that when it comes to reducing crime in cities, reducing crime on the southern border, all these things that, most common sense people understand need to happen in part to reduce the numbers of people breaking the law. And the city has done this effectively to reduce stolen catalytic converters in Kansas City. Wow, this is great. This makes all the sense in the world. And I'm happy about this. But as I see Woke 41 doing this story, it's not lost on me that the same people who have been basically non-existent on the issue of crime in this town and what needs to be done to solve crime in this town, yet brags and writes this very good piece and does a very good feature on how stolen catalytic converters are down dramatically the first 6 months of the year. I'm like, guys, can you put 2 and 2 together here and get 4 when it comes to curbing other kinds of criminal enterprises in this town? Can you think to yourself, wow, we have decreased the number of stolen catalytic converters tremendously, like 80-85% the first 6 months of the year. How'd they do it? What? More patrols? More patrolling by people who are, doing this for a living, trying to prevent criminals from just walking into the economy parking lot at the airport and stealing catalytic converters? You mean that actually deters people from committing crimes? Oh, my goodness. I can't believe it. So I saw the story and I'm like, wow, this is great. If only they would apply this kind of common sense reporting to everything else they did when it came to other types of crime in this town. They're not going to do it. They should do it, but they won't do it. Despite the fact that they're making their own case for how increasing patrol, increasing police presence can be good, can be positive. Now, with that being said, speaking of increasing police patrol and increasing presence, we started off the show this morning talking about the Plaza and the fact that Quentin Lucas yesterday put out a rendering that was done by Urban Lab KC on how Nichols Road would look if they shut it down to car traffic and they just made it for pedestrians only. The Plaza needs something to hit the reset button. They need something to get the foot traffic down there that they used to have, even just pre-COVID. I mean, the few times I've been down to the Plaza since COVID ended, air quotes, it is not even the same place it was in 2018, 2019. It's just, it's not. And I don't think this is it, because until somebody is willing to have the conversation about the Plaza, just like Kansas City at large, how do you get more people to your entertainment districts? It's not going to be a new Royal Stadium, although that would be nice. It's not going to be shutting down Nichols Road to cars. It's going to be making sure the people that you want down there, the people who have options, the people who can go to Zona Rosa, who can go to Town Center, it's making sure those people feel safe. I got an email from a listener here in the last hour, and it noted that they spend quite a bit of time down at the Plaza, and they no longer see any kind of patrol from KC police like they used to. Instead, all they see are security guards shuffling along with their pants hanging down below their butts, and they're staring at their smartphones. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I've seen those too. I've seen plenty of that. And that's not real security. You think people are going to be deterred by those guys? I mean, no offense. Has anyone ever been deterred by one of those guys? That's not actually a cop. That's like a rent-a-cop who doesn't look like he could run 15 feet down the street to chase somebody if he needed to. Those are not deterrents. They never have been. They never will be. And until you get people like that, until you get people who are actually going to do the job and you have real cops patrolling the area and making people feel like they want to go back to the plaza, they are comfortable going back to the plaza, until you do that, until you create that environment, you're not going to get the kind of business that you want down there. And don't forget when there was the drama at Shake Shack. What was that last a couple months back when Shake Shack was shutting down early because they were having too many troublemaker kids coming into the restaurant, causing a scene, giving them trouble. The city basically said, not much we can do. Sorry. I'm not sure what you want us to do. Hire your own security. It's like, why am I paying the city taxes then if you can't keep me safe? And that's also how you end up with vigilante justice, which nobody is looking for right now. Coming up on KCMO News in 2 minutes, and a former Olathe North star has himself in some trouble. What happened there? We'll get to it next. Oh, man, this thing is getting hairy up to our north, and now it involves a former Kansas City Metro high school football star. Arlen Bruce, he was a star at Olathe North, and he won the 2019 Thomas A. Simone Award as the best football player in the Metro.
There's actually a couple of guys by that name, so he's like number 4, I think.
He's
right?
the 4th, yes.
Okay, yeah.
He's
so
the
father
4th.
played as well.
Okay.
This Simone Awards for the best high school player, typically in the Metro. And I think his dad won it too, right, Mark?
Yeah, it makes me feel old because when I was growing up here in Olathe, I watched his dad play.
Mm-hmm.
Did you really?
So,
jeez. Yeah. Well, he had his kids real fast.
Yeah.
If his kids winning the award 4 years ago at this point, and you were watching his dad win the award.
Yeah, it was the mid-late 90s. So.
Oh, okay. So you were a kid.
Yeah, I was
like
a kid. Yeah.
You guys weren't contemporaries when he was winning the award.
No.
Oh, okay.
No. But I do remember it. So numbers are important, I think, here for the story.
That's a good point. Yes, the father didn't, go back to college at 45 years old.
Same name, same high school, same award. Just yeah.
So Arlen Bruce the 4th. We got to clarify that. Thank you, gentlemen, for helping me clarify. Now, do you know who the second was? Do you know the OG Arlen Bruce? Do I have to now grill you on that, or should we save that for a further future conversation?
Oh, I have no further info to add on that at the moment.
I don't know, Grandpa. I might have seen him in the stands.
Okay.
For the nachos.
Senior and junior, I'm not sure about. We know about 3 and 4.
All right. So Arlen Bruce the 4th, star at Olathe North. He's been playing football up at Iowa. Well, he's got himself in some trouble. He has been charged, along with several other Iowa and Iowa State athletes, for illegal gambling. Now, this is something that has been in the news the last couple of weeks, where Iowa and Iowa State athletes have been investigated for placing sports bets on oftentimes their own teams, their own games. And it's one of these things that as sports betting has become legalized across the country, state by state, we got it here in Kansas, we don't have it in Missouri. Iowa was pretty early in passing sports betting. And with DraftKings and FanDuel and everything else, I never really thought about, what about college players betting on their own games? And also betting underage. Like in Iowa, you got to be 21. And I don't know if that's on a state-by-state basis. What is it? Do you know by chance, Mark, what it is in Kansas? I mean, I don't know if it's 18 or 21 here.
I think it's 21.
Okay. So it's 21 in Iowa. And what you had is a lot of these guys placing bets on the FanDuels and the DraftKings of the world and doing it underage and doing it on their team. Now, Arlen Bruce, according to the criminal complaint, placed 19 wagers on Iowa football games while he was a member of the Iowa football program. Geo-tracking data allegedly links bets made on the account to Bruce's known locations, including his university residence and areas of the university not routinely open to the public. Bruce is not yet 21. He doesn't turn 21 until September 26th. He allegedly placed 132 wagers while underage. The criminal complaint said that Bruce risked $4,300 in his 132 bets. So what does that work out to? I mean, $40 a bet, give or take? Not even. $32 a bet. 11 bets were made on the Iowa football games during the 2021 season, 6 games that Bruce participated in. The account Bruce was using also placed 8 wagers on Iowa football games last season, with 6 of them coming in games that he had played in. Bruce placed a bet on the under. Dude, life is
Talk
too
about a bombshell.
Dude,
under on Iowa, right?
Yeah, well, he knows his own offense, that's for sure. Dude, life's too short to bet the under. Come on. You know this. You know the expression there, Mark. You're a degenerate. Life is way too short to bet the under.
Yeah, you got to cheer for the over.
You got to cheer for the over, my man. But anyway, Bruce, because he knows what's going on, it's Iowa football, he placed a bet on the under during an Iowa Northwestern game, October 29th of 2022, with the total set at 37.5 points. Bruce rushed for a 23-yard touchdown with 5:13 to go in the fourth quarter. His touchdown gave Iowa a 33-7 lead and resulted in the overhitting. So the guy scores a touchdown that results in the overhitting. It's not like he did one of those kneel downs at the 1-yard line or something like that. I don't want to blow the team out. I got to hit the under. Well, it's a $32-ish bet based on his average bet, and he lost because he scored a touchdown with 5 minutes left in the game.
And in a blowout, he could have probably taken a knee.
He could have taken the knee and done it in the name of sportsmanship, right? To try to hit the under, but he didn't do it. He didn't bother. So after the season, by the way, Bruce transferred to Oklahoma State. So he is now in Stillwater. He's no longer up there at Iowa. But I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, I get it's problematic. The problem to me is that he was underage, more so than it was he was betting on his own games. Like, that is a far bigger moral issue to me than it is, oh my goodness, this guy was betting on his own games. Not that he should be doing it, but if you're asking me how I stack them up, it's more about, hey, dude, you're not supposed to do this till 21. You were doing this at 19, 20 years old, so that's a problem. But betting on your own team, I don't like it. Obviously, it opens up a whole slew of issues, but it's also an issue that we should have seen coming. It's something that as politicians, as state leaders, pass these bills, and the NCAA, which is a completely feckless, worthless organization, they should have also seen this coming and say, what can we do to make sure that kids understand the serious nature of what's going on here? And why they shouldn't be doing this, they can't be doing this, the legality behind it, the morality behind it. It's Pete Rose-esque, I guess you would say. It's not Shoeless Joe Jackson throwing the World Series, but it's Pete Rose-esque. The thing about being an athlete, though, is that you're always going to bet on yourself. And we have yet to see in any of these instances up in Iowa, and there's several big-time Iowa and Iowa State players who are involved in this. The Iowa State quarterback, Hunter Deckers, he's also accused of betting on his own games. We have yet to see, and this would be a game changer, a guy place a bet, no pun intended, a guy place a bet against his team where he just knew, hey, we're not feeling it this week. We're worn down. We're banged up. We're not going to win. We've got no shot. That would be a game changer. That would be something that would blow this whole thing up. But right now, what you have is a lot of guys who are betting on themselves. Doesn't make it right, but I think that nuanced angle of this story does need to be noted.
Now, he did bet the under, so he could have affected the game, but he didn't.
Well,
so
yes.
That is a thing.
Yes. I'm kind of surprised that we've got players betting over-unders in their own games. Like, can you just bet on your team with a money line and call it a day, for crying out loud? Sheesh. But I guess even when you're, an Iowa player, the under's a pretty good bet most of the time. 913-408-7710. It's how you join us on KCMO Talk Radio 710 AM and 103.7 FM. Pete, Arlen Bruce needs to take some betting lessons from Mark.
Such a nice man.
That's exactly right.
I do have a pro tip for him. If you get the Action Network app, they give you $200. It's not real money. It's fake. So you just have the $200 in the account and you can do bets, but it's not real bets.
It's not real bets.
Fake bets. So college kids do that.
What's the fun in that, though, Mark?
Then you can see if you won the bets.
Yeah,
you don't get the real money, you don't get the scratch.
Yeah.
You don't get in trouble that way.
Yeah, but you're really scratching the itch? Are you really doing it if it's all fake Monopoly money?
I did it for a little bit before it was legal here.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Get me ready for it.
All right. NCAA is going to have to get involved. But you know what? The NCAA is so worthless, it's probably too late for them to get involved. 913-408-7710. Charlie Gasparino, Fox Business Network, is going to be here at the bottom of the hour. And something, by the way, Missouri, as they hopefully get off their butt and pass sports betting, hopefully something they as well will be able to figure out. How do you do this? How do you implement this while also protecting college kids who could bet on their own games from themselves? What do you do? 7:15, happy Friday. Pete Mundo on KCMO. I know. I mean, just talking about Arlen Bruce IV, the former Iowa, now Oklahoma State football player, Olathe North Star, who's caught up in this Iowa State illegal gambling situation that's really spiraled out of control. You've got a ton of players up there in Iowa, on both Iowa and Iowa State, including the former Olathe North Star, who allegedly made bets on their own teams over the last couple of years since sports betting is legal up there. But some of you are saying on the text line, Pete, it's not just betting on wins and losses. There are way more bets than that. No, I know. You can do like in-game bets. I mean, it's completely out of hand. Mark doesn't do any of that, though. He wouldn't dabble in any such thing like in-game bets. Now, would you, Mark? You wouldn't do that.
No, never.
No, never.
Not me.
Okay, not you. No way, no how. Pete, you should be able, this is Brian in the Northland on the text line. Pete, you should be able to bet your team to win legally. Maybe that's a compromise here. And I don't know how you do it. But in today's technological world of geofencing and everything else, maybe that's a way to do it. If an account is connected to an athlete, you can place a bet, right, if you're 21 years old. But it would have to be on a simple bet that your team wins. I don't like it, but let's be honest. Betting is not taboo like it was even 15 years ago. I mean, DraftKings and FanDuel, they own all the sports that you watch on TV. So you can't take the holier-than-thou approach of, well, no, the games must be pure. I agree. But then you also have to live in the real world. And if there's a way to do this technologically speaking with these players where hey, this guy's only placing a bet on winning games, or they can place bets, but it can't be on their teams. I don't know the perfect answer here. All I know is this. The world that we've created is now accepting of sports betting. This is not 1968 when you got to go in the dark of night to find your bookie on the street corner. And, if you don't pay up, your legs are going to be broken. That's not the world that we're living in right now. Speaking of sports betting, did you see this? Phil Mickelson allegedly wagered more than $1 billion with a B. Phil Mickelson bet more than $1 billion on football, basketball, and baseball over the past 3 decades. And even allegedly attempted to place a $400,000 wager on Team USA in the 2012 Ryder Cup, which he participated in. This according to an upcoming book by renowned professional gambler Billy Walters. $1 billion. Now, there was always rumors that Mickelson left for Live Golf for $250 million because he was in so much debt that he had to pay off his gambling debts and go take the Saudi money. Well, Mickelson responded yesterday. He said, I never bet on the Ryder Cup. Well, it's well known that I always enjoy a friendly wager on the course. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Hey, you want to bet $50,000 on this tee shot? I would never undermine the integrity of the game. I also have been very open about my gambling addiction. I have previously conveyed my remorse, took responsibility, have gotten help, have been fully committed to therapy that has positively impacted me, and I feel good about where I am now. So that's Phil Mickelson's response to this report that he's bet $1 billion over the last 30 years of his career on different sporting events, including there was one that said he made 43, I believe it was, 43 baseball bets in a single day. It's not even 43 games in a day.
He's probably doing some live betting as well.
Oh, my goodness. Jeez.
If he's betting on himself, though, I think that's fine.
I mean, that happens. It's just like we're talking about with the football, right? With Arlen Bruce
should be able to say anytime touchdown on himself, right?
Yes. Just like Mark did with Jody Fortson for 17 weeks last year.
That's right.
Anytime touchdown. Arlen Bruce should be able to do that. That's the world that we're in right now. If you want to go back to the supposed purity of the old days, be my guest. But also, it wasn't as pure as, you were led to believe. That's the other thing, too. Plenty of guys, plenty of bookies were trying to make their way into college locker rooms and professional locker rooms and help guys out with, little inside information.
Michael Jordan.
No comment. I'm an MJ guy, but you're not wrong there, Mark. You're not wrong. Coming up on KCMO Talk Radio, Commerce Bank here in town was downgraded this week, along with a handful of other mid-sized banks. What does that mean for you? What does that mean for the markets? Is that a sign of what's potentially to come? Charlie Gasparino of Fox Business Network is going to join me to talk about that and much more coming up right after the news. Pete Mundo on a Friday morning. Good to be here on KCMO. So you just heard Charlie Gasparino, Fox Business Network, on this show, and he was talking about how, according to some of Ron DeSantis' biggest donors that he knows, and that's what Charlie's got it all, the politics, the business, the Wall Street stuff. According to some of DeSantis' big donors that he knows, DeSantis, who, of course, is getting crushed by Trump in a lot of the polling, is playing the long game. And he's got more than enough money to do that. And his goal is to basically hang around and stick around and stay till the bitter end in hopes of a Trump faceplant that will catapult him. Well, here's the problem with that plan. A lot of people have tried that plan. People tried it back in 2016. Didn't work. I understand the idea of we're just going to play the long game and eventually Trump is going to hurt himself. But what evidence is there to suggest that Trump is ultimately going to have that faceplant moment? Whether it was in the primaries in 2016, whether it was the Access Hollywood tape. I mean, those are all faceplant moments, you would think, in traditional politics. But Donald Trump continues, whether you agree with what I'm saying here or not, Donald Trump continues to break all the rules. Anything that would destroy a normal candidate, a traditional candidate, doesn't hurt him. So for DeSantis to believe and think that, well, I'm just going to wait till Trump hurts himself. John, it's never happened. That's not really a strategy here.
And thus you see the dilemma of defensive coordinators facing Patrick Mahomes on a weekly basis. Well, we got a lot of hope in the game plan.
Yeah, we're just going to wait for him to screw up.
Right.
And just like Trump, when you think Mahomes is about to screw up and trip over himself, he unloads the ball backhanded to a guy who's on a crossing route, and it ends up as a touchdown.
Right.
I mean, that's what it is. That's a great analogy, by the way. So I sit here and I say to myself, I don't know what kind of strategy that really is, but at this point, if you're DeSantis, there's nothing else you can really latch on to, so why not go with that one? But on the other side, we've speculated this. I told you that when I got together with Bill O'Reilly a couple of weeks ago, because I got to name drop that at least once a week now for the next couple of weeks. We got to get Bill back on the show soon, by the way. He told me as we're sitting on his back porch overlooking the Atlantic Ocean that he thinks Michelle Obama could very well be the nominee in 2024 and not Joe. Well, now you got people writing about this. They're putting it in writing. Tim Stanley at The Telegraph Headline, Michelle Obama could be America's next president. A source says that in conversation with a foreign politician, it emerged, writes Stanley, that their government assumes Joe Biden will not be the Democratic nominee in 24. Joe will pull out before the first primaries. It will be too late for a grassroots candidate to enter the fray. An establishment stooge will be crowned at the convention. And the name of that lucky winner? Michelle Obama. Ding, 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 ding. It's a wild scenario, but if it does happen, Stanley writes, please remember that you read it here first. Well, you didn't read it at the Telegraph first. You hopefully heard it on this show first. And he goes on to write, this anecdote confirms what I've heard from sources too. When governments engage with Biden, they feel like they are dealing with the face of an administration, but not always the person in charge. Does seem like you got a shadow government being run by Barack. But here's the thing. If that is true, if Barack's pulling the strings, why has he got to go back to the White House? I mean, he lives in a big home. He's got multiple big homes. He doesn't need the big home to live in. If you can be in power and be the person running the operation without actually having to be the person who runs the operation, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. But just know now it's being pushed in more mainstream media locations that this is a possibility in 2024. I'm telling you, these people have nothing. I mean, we've done 3 hours of radio this morning here on KCMO, and I think the name Donald Trump has come up, for a couple of minutes when we were talking with Charlie Gasparino of Fox Business Network this morning. That's the only time I can really think of. But these dog and pony shows on cable news in the mornings, all they've got is just, Trump. And it kind of worked in 2016 because it was unlike anything anybody had ever seen. But 7 years later, come on, find something mildly new and interesting and relatable to talk about. But of course, they don't want to talk about, Biden having a rough go of it. So they got to go Trump, 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 Trump. This just came down. This was last hour. MSNBC Morning Joe. It's just funny stuff for a Friday. This guy on MSNBC, his name is Donnie Douche. Quite an appropriate name for this guy. Donnie Douche. Deutsch. I guess it could be Deutsch.
It's probably Deutsch. Yeah.
Donnie Douche sounds better, though, doesn't it? So, anyway, here's MSNBC commentator Donnie Douche talking this morning about how if Donald Trump wins, the world is going to go up in flames. Here we go.
Do you not understand that if Donald Trump wins, nothing else matters because it's over? Morning Joe might act, just to take a little example, Morning Joe might not exist anymore because Donald Trump has said, as all autocrats say, what they will do. And he said,
stop,
if I'm elected, I want the FCC reporting directly.
Stop. Donnie Douche, MSNBC. We'll continue the clip in a second. But I got to stop it right there. If Donald Trump wins, nothing else matters. Oh, my God. Oh. Morning Joe might not exist anymore. This is what autocrats do. The guy was in office for 4 years. You guys lied about him every day for 4 years. What did he do to you? Yeah, he tweeted about you. He tweeted about Mika Brzezinski's bad nose job. But at no point were you in danger of getting taken off the air. Like, this shtick would have worked in 2015-16. But you literally we have lived through 4 years of Trump, and nobody was taken off of cable news. Not a single person. Does anybody believe this crap, what they're saying over there, John? This is just mind-numbingly stupid.
I think they do.
You think they do? Oh,
yeah.
Gosh.
Well, this will be the end of the NFL and NASCAR.
Yeah.
All this crap. I think their mind deserves all the torture it creates. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I just can't fathom saying something like this with a straight face on any television show. And by the way, the other people on the panel, as I'm looking at the clip here, the Rev is there. Rev Al Sharpton's in the house.
Show some RESPICT.
Who else is here with Donnie Douche? Morning Joe, and then 3 other people I don't recognize. Anyway, let's continue the clip there, Mark, if you would, please. Sorry to interrupt it midstream.
To me, and he will cancel the show. I mean, you need to think that, excuse me, that extreme. It's over. Freedom is over if Donald Trump gets elected. It's that simple. No other issue matters. Every other issue sprinkles down from that. However you feel about the economy, however you feel about whatever issue you're dealing with, we turn into an autocracy. What our forefathers fought for 250 years ago is over. That's what's at stake at this election. Everything else is a subtext to that.
Freedom is over. Freedom is coming to an end. Well, I've lived through 4 years of Trump, and I lived through now, unfortunately, almost 3 years of Biden. And I knew which one I was much more free under. Like, there's plenty to criticize Trump for, and you could do a laundry list. You could do shows upon shows on that. But when it comes to freedom under two guys, I know which one I was more economically free under, and I know which one I was more free under from just a First Amendment perspective. I mean, which one of the last two guys, including the current president, which one of these last two guys had a motion to fire you based on your vaccine status? There was one administration, the current one, that was lobbying private business to make the COVID-19 shot a requirement for private sector businesses. That pressure came from the people in charge right now. And the stones on these guys, this Donnie Douche and MSNBC, to say, freedom is over. Autocracy is coming with Trump.
Which what he means is business as usual. How about this? Dear Donnie Deutsch, when painting a doomsday scenario, the phrase sprinkles down from there somehow kind of softened up your whole thing.
Yeah, well,
right?
Yeah,
it all sprinkles down from there.
Yeah.
Sprinkles?
Sprinkles.
You didn't want to say trickle?
Yeah.
How about rains down with fire? Come on, Donnie.
Oh, gosh. What an appropriate name, Donnie Douche. Pete, imagine what will happen if Trump actually does win. There will be riots everywhere. Gosh, I can't forget, or I'm trying to remember who I was talking to the other day about this. See, I don't know. I don't know if it's getting older or having kids or sleeping, 6 hours a night on average. But my short-term memory is horrible. And it's getting worse rapidly, which is a bad sign. I don't know who it was, but I was talking to somebody here in the last few days about 2024. And the conversation we had that I believe to be a sad but true statement is that no matter what comes out of the election, no matter who wins, the losing side is going to say the other side stole it. That's my biggest fear. That no matter who wins, I mean, unless there's somehow overwhelming evidence, but, look at 2016. Hillary, she's got plenty of comments suggesting she had the election stolen from her. We don't need to relitigate 2020. Trump's still talking about it. But no matter what, there will be half the country who believes this next election was stolen. And that is that you want to talk about a danger to democracy? That's dangerous.
No, I think you're right. As subsequent elections over the years get a little more contested at the finality each time, you know, and it's just ramping up. You're right.
It is. And that's that. If there's one thing that concerns me going into next year, it's that upon everything else. On the text line, 913-408-7710. That's also our call-in line here on KCMO Talk Radio. Pete, freedom depends upon this election from guys like Donnie Douche. Oh, that's so true. And it's exactly right. I mean, to think that those people are on TV, it's like a sleepy August summer Friday, and you've got hysterics on MSNBC from Donnie Douche saying, gosh, if Trump wins, freedom is over. There's a lot of things that will happen, no matter who wins in 2024. But if Trump wins, I promise you, freedom will not be over. MSNBC will have just as much fun, and their ratings will increase at the same rate that they saw in a post-Trump world. That's why they love the idea of Trump. CNN and MSNBC love the idea of Trump because they get the ratings boost from having Trump in the conversation again. And then they believe that he's likely to lose. And then on the outside chance he pulls a rabbit out of a hat and wins, they get 4 years of content. They win no matter what. 913-408-7710. Caller of the day at the bottom of the hour. Meantime, I haven't even played this clip yet. It's one of my favorite clips from Joe yesterday. It really is a thing of beauty. And I'll share it with you coming up next on KCMO.
This is absolutely lit. This is lit, 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 lit.